it's not just one person that makes the good ship lollipop go around. It's all of us. And, all those old sayings, there's no I in teamwork. There isn't. And each one of us, has a vital role here in the success of the property. And we wouldn't be able to be successful without each other.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again on the podcast. This episode comes close to home here on the coast of Maine. I'm speaking with Tina Hewett-Gordon, the general manager of the Nonantum Resort. This episode is all about leadership and what it takes to develop your people, to recognize talent, to give them opportunity, and to help them succeed in an organization. And Tina is the definition of hospitality. She's been a tireless leader at the Nonantum for decades. Not only that, she devotes her selfless time to our state trade organization, Hospitality Maine. She truly cares about up-leveling our industry. There's so many nuggets here about how you can develop your own team, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Thanks to the sponsors of this week's episode, Pop Menu, Verge Funding, The Birthday Club, and the Restaurant Rockstars Academy. Now, on with the episode.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Rockstars, there are many elements to consider when growing your restaurant. Are you connecting with diners enough and with the right message? Could your kitchen be putting out more orders than your dining areas have room for? Well, it can be overwhelming, especially when the reason you got into this business is for the food and the people. That's why restaurants get Pop Menu. Pop Menu is the marketing tech platform designed to make growing your restaurant easy, so you don't have to grow it alone. With Pop Menu, you can capture more guests and their preferences through your restaurant's website that's designed to easily collect contact information and data so you can see what your guests love and why they dine with you. Connect and build authentic relationships with guests by using modern technology that personalizes marketing. Make all your systems work better together, improve margins, and conquer the chaos of your restaurant's digital presence. Pop Menu has a special offer for my listeners. For a limited time, get $100 off your first month, plus lock in one unchanging monthly rate at popmenu.com/rockstars. Go now to get $100 off your first month at popmenu.com/rockstars. Hey there, Rockstars. Let's talk birthday marketing. It's one of those critical, important details that either drive new and repeat business into your place or not. Now, very few of us are real expert marketers, but why not a program that's done for you, that targets all the customers in your area that are having birthdays? Everyone has a birthday. Why not speak to my buddy Dyson Barnett? He's a former restaurant owner-operator. He knows this business, and now his company delivers birthday customers, and it's all done for you. Get some marketing that you can track, where you know exactly if it's working or not and what the return on investment is, because so few marketing dollars that restaurant owners spend is trackable. So that's key. Dyson is pretty certain that he can get more butts in seats, and not only more butts in seats, but repeat business. Once he introduces new customers to your restaurant, those people, if they have a great experience in your place, are going to come back and tell their friends. Now that's trackable, and that's powerful marketing. Check it out at jointhebirthdayclub.com/birthdayrockstar. Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast, and I'm so appreciative of our audience for tuning in, and so happy to have you, Tina, on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks, Roger. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, you and I go way back. We both serve on the board of Hospitality Maine, which is our state restaurant and hotel hospitality organization, and that's where we first met. I don't know how many years ago that was. We both served numerous terms. And I'm particularly impressed at your approach on the board, because you clearly have a passion for hospitality, and you clearly, have a passion for advocacy and helping others succeed and sharing your knowledge, and you're very active on our board. So thank you for that. You're doing a great thing for the industry in general and for our membership.
Thank you. I love it. And you're absolutely right. You said it perfectly that I have a never-ending passion for the hospitality business.
And that's why you're here. So that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I know there's just so many nuggets of information that you can share. So just for our audience, we're going to be talking a lot about Tina's career and what she's doing now. She works for a resort called the Nonantum. It's in beautiful Kennebunkport, Maine. It's on the Kennebunk River, and you've got amazing views, and there's there's history to this property. Can you tell us a little bit about the Nonantum and its history?
Absolutely. I'll give you our sales speech. So
Okay.
the Nonantum,
Yeah, the canned speech works.
the canned speech works. So the
Yeah.
Nonantum was built in 1883, and it opened for business on July 4th, 1884. So we have just reopened for our 139th season.
That's unbelievable. On 4th of July, too. That's great. There's some
exactly. Good day to
patriotism there,
celebrate.
too. Wow.
Exactly.
Cool.
So we do have a very long line of history here. We are incredibly well positioned in Kennebunkport. We're about a half a mile from the center of town, which is known as Dock Square. We're about a quarter of a mile to the closest beach. We're located right on the river, and we do have 109 guest rooms. I have 2 restaurants. We have a large banquet facility, which is not your common banquet facility. So it's very warm and charming, and has a unique offering that you can't get at just any hotel in America. So our views are incredible. Our rooms are beautiful. We have the Carriage House Inn, which was built in 1883. As I said, it opened in 1884. And then we have a newer building called Portside, which was built in 1985, and it has 56 guest rooms as a part of our 109. So the property is really beautiful. Our offerings are very unique, and we're the second largest property here in Kennebunkport.
Nice. That's wonderful. How long have you been with the resort?
I have been the general manager here for 31 years.
That is unbelievable. Wow, what a tenure and a track record. I'm sure you've seen lots of things come and go, lots of repeat and regular guests that know and love you, of course.
Yes.
Staff, lots of new staff, lots of returning staff. There must be people that have been with you for many, many years as well.
Our executive housekeeper is celebrating her 41st season here, if you can imagine. So we do have quite a long line of staff members who have been here for decades, but also, of course, a lot of new members that join us every year as well. We're seasonal. We're open from the middle of April to the middle of December, so our season's a little bit longer than most. But in the off season, I have about 25 staff that are here on property, and then when we're open and running, we swell up to about 185 people.
No kidding. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, let's talk about your career. Where did it all begin for you? Let's take us back as far as you'd like, but tell us about hospitality and when when you first got interested in working in a hospitality operation, would that be a restaurant or a hotel? What's your backstory?
Sure. So I was raised in upstate New York. I am the youngest of 6 children. And so big gatherings has always been a part of my family and my life from way back when. And so when I graduated from high school, I decided that I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something that would allow me to travel. So through high school, I worked at Pier 1 Import. So I started in retail. But then as I went into college, I worked in restaurants in Saratoga Springs. I worked in restaurants in Lake George, New York. So I did everything from, wait tables to help in the kitchen to, I don't know, you name it, bartend here and there. I worked in events. So I definitely had my hand in every aspect of the restaurant business. When I graduated from college, I went to a 2-year state school called SUNY Cobleskill, and I went for resort marketing, which was a very different field. And the professor of that field was actually someone who taught at Disney. And that's where
Disney University.
Disney University.
Yeah, right.
And so that's where the magic happened. Okay. When I realized that you could have a career making people happy and making magic happen. And so that's where really it all started, Roger, was, when I started here at the Nonantum, I actually had never worked in a hotel. And so it was quite dumb luck that I got the job that I did, because another mutual friend of ours, and board member Roger Daigle,
Yes.
was actually working here at the hotel. And when the general manager had left and Roger was here, the owner decided that he was going to run the property. After about a month, he realized he was an operator. He was an owner, not an operator. And I was 22 years old. I had no experience. And the owner at that point said to Roger Daigle, "So, Roger, what do you think of Tina for running this hotel?" And he said, "That girl's got what it takes." He said,
Wow, there was that magic. It just was evident. With or
it was,
without
it,
experience, they just knew you could put the right people in place and just know intuitively what to do and apply your passion for hospitality, even at that age. And well, all the foundational elements you spoke about in working in those restaurants, you did have
sure.
very foundational experiences in those restaurants doing a lot of things.
Well, 100%, Roger, because the thing that I learned in those early years is that it took all sorts of people to make the magic happen. And everybody had to do everything to make that magic happen. And so no matter what happened behind the scenes, when you went out onto the floor, the polished appearance had to come together, but it wasn't one person that made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when, all those years ago, when I was just working here at the hotel and Roger Daigle said, "Yes, this is the girl that should be running this property," I didn't know any better, but I just knew what I needed to do to make people happy. And I think that was the foundation for how I got started doing what I did. And I learned. I learned. I had great people in my life that taught me and mentored me. So I mentioned our executive housekeeper has been here for 41 years. Prior to her running the housekeeping department, it was her mother who ran this hotel ran the housekeeping department of the hotel.
Yes, of course.
And it was, she helped me a lot because I just didn't know. And I worked every job in this hotel. I washed dishes. I cleaned the rooms. I did the laundry. I was doing all the sales. I, worked on the front desk. I had no idea. I would get up. I became a single mom. And my daughter would come over to work with me in the morning. She would sit in the prep table in the kitchen and she'd crack eggs before she went to school.
Wow.
And it's been quite a journey, I've got to say, but it's definitely been a very fulfilling and rewarding one.
Is your daughter in hospitality all to this day, or is she doing something else?
Well, she up until, yes, she actually ended up going to college at the College of Charleston and got a degree in hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
And she was working very successfully. And then COVID happened. And unfortunately, she was laid off from her job. And during the recovery period, she ended up switching careers and she's now in real estate sales and is very successful. But it's very interesting because of most of what she learned in hospitality is very applicable in the real estate industry as well.
That's interesting. My oldest daughter, who obviously grew up in our restaurant businesses, doing a variety of jobs, even as a young kid, rolling silverware and doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And now she wants to be in real estate as well. So that's interesting.
Well, all of the things that she learned in hospitality will serve her very well in real estate.
Life skills in this business, right? You learn life skills.
Sure is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a family. Like, it's not a staff, it's more of a family, right? People have been there a long, long time. There's teamwork, there's respect, there's that hospitality that everyone delivers on a daily basis. And I'm sure you have regular sort of brainstorming sessions and rah-rahs and pre-shifts and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get into a little bit of that. But let me ask you, everyone has their own definition of hospitality. How would you define that word?
I would define hospitality as a genuine want and feel within yourself to serve others. And it's not just others, meaning your guests, but your community and your coworkers, because I think that those are the three pillars of this business, is serving all of them equally.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that that's a competitive advantage. I mean, I next want to talk a little bit more about the Nonantum and why your guests return. And obviously, history plays a big part in it. It's been there for 139 years, as you've said. So it
Right.
definitely has a reputation. Are you constantly fostering, really great reviews, and your best guests are always leaving positive reviews? And it's like people come back for a reason because they get to know the staff, because they love the property, they love the experiences they have there. But new people discover, our businesses all the time. So it's a combination of those things. What would you say really makes the Nonantum stand out?
I would say that the magic at the Nonantum is the people who work here and make up the Nonantum family. We're very fortunate that we have such great continuity with our staff members, but we always say that people you can only fake it for so long, if you will, but genuine hospitality truly comes from the heart, and it comes from being passionate about helping other people and having a genuine care and desire for someone's memory. I think we have a huge responsibility in our business to create memories. I mean, we are host to family reunions, we're host to weddings, to celebrations of life. So we have the framework to help families in their growth patterns, whether they're, again, family growing, family decreasing, baptisms, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yes.
And
every life event, really, right?
Exactly.
Celebrations of life, both positive
sure.
and when someone passes on
Join
and all
tragic.
that. Yes,
Absolutely.
all those things, definitely.
And
Wow.
we take that responsibility very seriously because it comes from a place of genuine care and want. And I think that's what makes the difference. And the staff here, we really like each other. And I think you can tell when you walk through the door of people who are just working to work together versus people who truly care about each other. And so we take care of each other. That's my job. That's my number one job, is to take care of my staff. And as long as my staff is taken care of and their families are taken care of, I know that our guests are going to be taken care of as well.
Let's talk about some of the training that you implement and the onboarding of new people and the indoctrination and what philosophies you pass on to them, and then how you monitor that training for optimum performance. Tell us about your whole process with that.
Sure. So because we've always had a very open and inclusive work environment here, and training is a very big part of what we do. Our innkeeper, Jean Marvin, is incredibly invested in training and educational opportunity, as well as professional growth for all of the staff members here. She has a very long lineage of opportunities and involvement with the community college system, et cetera. And so that affords us a lot of training opportunities. For instance, Roger, the reason I couldn't talk with you earlier is because we had a training for 22 of our management team for DEI, for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because one of the foundational pieces of work we do here is we have a program called Lifting People Up. And it's something that the head of our HR department is incredibly passionate about. We've been developing it over the past few years. And so we now are a recovery-friendly workplace. We were just given that certificate from the state of New Hampshire, because Maine doesn't have a task force for recovery. Anyway, we also are working with hiring the folks from recently released from the incarcerated program.
I was about to ask that. That's terrific as well.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I hear it's a really positive program through workforce development, and that's another positive plus of our organization that's been so progressive in finding talent for this industry. Yeah,
it's amazing. Well, we have a number of jobs that are entry level, and it's a great opportunity if someone has, come out of incarceration to be able to put them back to work. Our Colby is the head of our HR department, and she said it perfectly. She was given an award last year, and she said, how would you perform if every day of your life you were judged on the very worst thing that you did? And those words are so profound.
Wow.
I said,
They really
wow,
cut through.
right.
Yeah.
It really cut through. And so we look at this as an opportunity to be able to help lift people up. And we've had very, very successful, we've had 3 very successful folks that have come out of incarceration that are still with us, and they're doing great work.
Wonderful.
And so, it's you feel better when you help other people. You feel better about yourself. And so a lot of our trainings are, obviously we have the mandatory ones. You got to do the sexual harassment, you got to do the bed board, all da. But these trainings that we're offering are about inclusion. We're also offering training about leadership, different management skills. And we're finding ourselves incredibly successful. And we've also been voted one of the best places to work in Maine for seven times in a row. And we're the only hospitality business, Roger, in the state of Maine that has that award.
That's terrific. You touched on so many things there, Tina, but let's talk about the difference between, say, a mission statement and a true company culture. Like, lots of businesses have a mission statement and maybe they slap it on the wall somewhere and no one really pays attention to it or speaks to it very often. But a culture really comes from how everyone approaches their job and how everyone feels working together and what the end result is. And, this whole uplifting of people seems to fit that culture. But is there a defined company culture? Can you go beyond, or is that pretty much it? It's like, we want to be inclusive and diverse and just deliver amazing experiences to our guests. Well, how would you answer that?
Well, it's very interesting, because over the past 5 years, we've had, different workshops, internal workshops of what's our mission statement. Yes, we want to, offer exceptional hospitality. We want to offer the best service, et cetera, et cetera. We want to be, a good steward to our environment, to our community,
yes,
an ambassador to the industry, et cetera. And just this past year, we realized, all of those different sayings, all those different words, they were just words because you couldn't let it wouldn't slip off your tongue. What it came down to was lifting people up. And so that is our true mission, and that is our culture.
Awesome.
And so we are, fostering an environment and promoting an environment that people feel safe, and they feel respected, they feel heard. And at the end of the day, I think that's really all people want. And so if we, as staff members, have that culture, that's the environment that we're creating for our guests. So they feel warm, they feel welcome, they feel that genuine hospitality, they feel that passion. We empower our staff to do what they feel needs to be done. We just, over the winter, we read the book by Will Gurna called Unreasonable Hospitality. And if you ever have the opportunity to read that book, I would encourage you to, because it talks about the limits, or there's no ceiling to the level of service that you can offer to people. And it's been incredibly well received by our staff, and they see themselves as empowered and to make the decisions. So if, for instance, I heard a bellman who had just started back the other day overheard somebody say, it was an older couple, and this gentleman wanted a newspaper, and we didn't have any newspapers here at the property. And he looked at me and he said, "Is it okay if I run downtown and I grab a paper at the drugstore for these folks?" I was like, "Absolutely." So he ran down, he grabbed the paper, and he brought it back and delivered it to the guest rooms. And the guest came up afterward and he said, I never asked him to do that." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Well, why would he do that?" And I said, "Because he overheard you say that you wanted a newspaper and that you didn't have, that we didn't have them here. And it was raining, so the person didn't want to go outside, et cetera."
Sure.
But they, and that's just a very, very small example of some of the things that we do. But when a guest feels that, or a staff member feels that they're going to always be supported in their decisions to elevate the guest's experience, we want them to be doing those things, and we want them to be comfortable in that place.
That's amazing. Now you're really talking about empowerment here and leadership, where, people have autonomy to make decisions in the best interests of that guest. And isn't it amazing we can touch people in a personal way so that they, like that guest said, I didn't ask for this, but that team member delivered above and beyond what was expected and surprised that person. And that's a lasting memory. You would agree that in our businesses every single day, I call it the business of 1,000 details. And when you own a resort, it's even more than just a restaurant. I say there's 1,000, obviously, details in a restaurant, but think about every single person that comes in contact with any guest at any time, all the interactions, all the impressions, hopefully all positive, and the opportunity they have to build repeat business and friends for life. And then we're touching on that lifetime value of a customer versus just turning and burning people that come in one day and you never see them again. And that really starts, from you and trickles down to the staff. But there's where that family fits in. If you feel like family, then that culture really rubs off on you. Hopefully you bring the right attributes to the job to begin with. But this is stuff that gets or should be talked about every single day versus, just a mission statement hanging on the wall.
Correct. Well, and I mean, think about, and it's important that every person on the staff feels this way, because think about a time that you maybe have gone into a store or a shop or something, and you got a kid that's sitting there on their cell phone or doing, whatever, or they've dismissed you or they were rude, and you think, God, I'm never going back into that place. And of course, if the owner knew that, they'd be horrified because they don't want the guest to have that kind of experience. I feel very comfortable, and I know that our owner feels very comfortable knowing that when somebody comes here to the Nonantum, those kinds of interactions are not going to happen. This is a very desired place to work. And so, I hesitate to say this on your show, but last year and this year, when everyone else in our area was crying the blues for help, we actually were completely staffed. We were almost overstaffed.
Awesome.
And that's a good problem to have. Last year, we realized after 2020 and 2021, we don't need to go into any of those gory details of what those 2 years were like. But what we realized at the end of 2021, that it was our number one job. Instead of marketing for more business, we needed to market for more staff. And so that has been our number one initiative for the last 2 years, is to be sure that we are constantly attracting and recruiting the very best of the best. Because when our guests come here, they deserve and they expect very high levels of service. And the only way to do that is to have exceptional staff members.
That is absolutely amazing that you are in that position. And you're right. And it doesn't matter what part of this country we're talking about. I mean, everyone is struggling in numerous industries, but ours specifically. And, so many people would say, oh, there's been a defection from hospitality workers and people just left the industry. And that may have been true at one point. But the people are there, but it's your approach to leading them and then developing. Everyone works for a paycheck, Tina, of course, but people work for more than that. They want satisfaction. They want to know that their voice matters and that, that they're making a contribution, and they need to know what those contributions are. So there's the difference between leadership and management. If someone's doing an all right job, no one's going to say anything to them if you're a manager, but a leader is constantly looking to, like you say, raise those people up, give them new responsibilities. Let's talk about recognition and rewards. I mean, that plays a part in this too. Do you have any specific programs where people are recognized for going above and beyond, or solving a guest problem, or taking care of a teammate, or anything like that?
Well, we come from a culture of everybody gets a prize. So we, or everybody
I know what you mean.
So we
At least in grade school, it works that way.
Exactly. Not in the real world. But we do some soft so that we don't always, because I think the front of the house people tend to get more recognition from guests
Yes.
than perhaps somebody in the
Good
back
point.
of the house.
Of course.
So we try to do a two-prong approach where we're giving feedback that is seen, on any one of the travel review sites. So if, Sally did a great job, we want to make sure that Sally sees that the fact that she was written up in a review. But we take it a step further too. And if it's a child, we try to send that information to their parents so that because their parents may not see this.
Right.
So we try to, extend the information to the family, because again, we're all in one big family. And I don't know, you have kids. Did they always tell you everything that they did great? Probably not. So, but that's one area. We have employee appreciation days. We have departmental appreciation days. So each department can go and do something individual. Every spring, when we open the Tuesday after Memorial Day, we have a staff meeting for the entire staff, which is a really powerful day, because when you look in this room and you look around at 150 faces, and you talk about, how long they've been there, what they do, you realize that what we have is a city. We have a little city inside of these four walls, and it takes
what happens
so
behind the
many.
scenes? Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. So we do different types of recognition for the staff. We also have, in our one of the main hallways, we have a shadow box that we call out different employees. We have pictures with little bios about them. We do a newsletter that goes out to the staff, and then we have also a newsletter that goes out to guests that calls out different staff members. So different types of, because we also realize that different people like to be recognized differently, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a person that I'm a very big personality. I don't mind, talking and being in front of people, but not everybody likes that kind of information. So, for instance, we have a girl who works on our line. She runs one of our food outlets. She's a dynamo line cook, unbelievable. But she was just given the lieutenant position of the fire department here in Kennebunkport. She's the first woman in the history of the fire department that's gotten this, and so, for recognition, she was on the cover of one of our local newspapers. And instead of her having just the picture about herself, she had all the women in the fire department. And so what it said to us is, we of course want to recognize her, but we realize that calling her out in front of everybody at that big staff meeting is probably not the best approach, because she's a person that wants to be recognized differently. And so I think that, to your point about how do we recognize people, we recognize them in a way that's appropriate and respectful to their personalities.
That's a nice approach. I totally get that. She sounds to me like a very humble person that likes to share the glory and the credit. It's not just me. It's like everybody here contributes to the greater good. So she's one of those people. Yeah.
She is one of those people. And we have a lot of those people here, because it's not just one person that makes the good ship lollipop go around. It's all of us. And, all those old sayings, there's no I in teamwork. There isn't. And each one of us, has a vital role here in the success of the property, and we wouldn't be able to be successful without each other.
So you've got extraordinary tenure. You mentioned, I think you said it was 31 years as the general manager here. And again, lots of people have come and gone. Lots of guests have come and gone. Things have changed. Pandemic aside, has it gotten any easier to assume your role? Obviously, there's a certain amount of satisfaction. There's a certain amount of fun. There's a certain amount of hard work. And all those things, obviously, and all those details that you're constantly on top of. But I mean, it's still the Nonantum place that you've been 31 years. You know it intimately, inside and out. You know the people, you know the guests, you know the owners, you know all that kind of stuff. Does it get any easier? Is every year different for you? Listen, you've heard a lot of noise about the ERC tax credit. Why is it such a big deal? Because your business already paid a ton of money in payroll taxes, and more than likely, you qualify to get a ton of money back. Now, if you haven't applied yet, I'm telling you, drop everything, drop what you're doing, and figure out how to get it done. The truth is, and I'm speaking from experience here, it's super easy to get the money back if you let an expert do the work for you. Now get on this before the government either changes the program or runs out of money. I got hundreds of thousands of dollars back from my restaurant, and it literally saved our business. Now, you may have heard it may take many months after applying to get your money back, but that doesn't have to be the case. If you need your ERC refund sooner to run your business or to take care of some much-needed projects, you can speak with Karen Garbett, the owner of Verge Funding Group, about a bridge loan or other working capital. Now, whether you wait for your check, opt for a bridge loan, or other working capital, it's likely you have a significant amount of money due back to you, so don't lose it. Now go to the show notes for this episode on our website and use Karen's calendar link to set up a time to chat with her personally about how much money your business can get back.
Every year is different.
No
Absolutely. And I don't think it ever gets easier, Roger. I just think that the challenges and the opportunities are different. As I'm so fortunate that I have an amazing assistant general manager now who I never had. We promoted. I never had that position at the property, and Angela is just such a dynamic individual, and it allows me to work on some other areas for the property in development. So does it get easier? No, it just changes.
Yeah.
And it changes in a positive way. And if it didn't, I wouldn't be coming back every year for the past 31 years.
Okay, there's no typical day in your gig,
No.
but walk us through like any given day. You walk onto the property at what time in the morning, and what's a typical day? What happens during the course of a day?
Oh, well, as you said, you never really know. I mean, I've stopped making to-do lists because they just are pieces of paper that I lose. So a typical day.
That's called a pivot, right? And it happens
It is
numerous times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I'm a really big workout fanatic, so I make sure that my day starts with some kind of physical activity, whether it's bike riding or I teach a boot camp class at the beach or
Awesome.
whatever that is, so that when I walk on the property in the morning, my mental state is in a really good place. I usually get here anywhere between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Because remember, we're a 24-hour business.
Yeah.
So the day can be very fluctuating depending on what's happening here and what day of the week. But I typically come in, I check in with the front desk, I put all my stuff down, make sure, see if there's any fires that need to be put out. I head up to housekeeping and check in with my executive housekeeper, see how her team's looking for the day. And then I typically head right into the restaurant because breakfast is usually happening. And, if you get there between 9 and 9:30, you become a very proficient coffee pourer because that's when everybody comes down for breakfast.
Of course.
And so the first couple of hours of my day is just checking in with the departments and seeing what's happening, if we have projects that are going on, what loose ends need to be tied up. And then I'm at my desk for a few hours, checking email, working on reports, looking at forecasting, et cetera. And then it's working with my sales and marketing team, seeing where they are, and any number of issues that may be coming up throughout the rest of the week or the weekend. So no day is ever the same. And now once the weather starts getting nicer, our activities program opens up, which is a family activities program that runs from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I'll typically go down there, do a little bit of face painting, maybe make a bracelet or something with some kids that are down there.
That's great. Good for you.
We have a marina. So we go down and I check on we have 3 boat tours that leave from here. So I'll go and check with the boat captains. So a lot of it is, just being aware of what's happening on the property and checking in with the staff. I also work very closely with my HR department. to be sure, where are we with, staffing? Where are we with our benefits? Where are we with payroll? Are we into overtime? Where are we in the
Fiscal
day? So
responsibility is part of it too. Your
it is,
financial
yes,
monitoring financials and stuff, critical indicators, that sort of thing.
absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
It's
We
funny
cover a lot of
because
ground.
we well, you do everything.
Yes.
I mean, that's part of being a general manager and being a leader is, I go back to my roots when I started, 31 years ago. Is I need to know how to do every job. Although I don't get the opportunity to do them all the time anymore, I still want to be proficient in what is happening here at the property. I love going down to laundry and folding. They don't let me fold sheets anymore, but I can fold towels and washcloths and get to know because it's important to get to know your staff, especially with the number of people that we have here. I have those personal connections are invaluable.
Does your organization do any cross training so that people have
Mm.
multiple skill sets in case,
Mm.
someone can't make it, they can
Yeah.
kind of jump over and do this or that. They've got, multiple positions that they've either trained in or they have some level of skill in.
Yeah, so we started that prior to COVID. And then when COVID happened, it was amplified.
Mhm.
We had such a limited staff, that 185 people, we were down for the first month to our management team of 25. And so every
Wow.
day, everybody did
All
everything.
hands on deck. Yeah.
It was all hands on deck. But fast forward, and what that taught us though was number one, you have to have A players, and A players need to know how to do multiple things. And so we now have a program where when you have a new person in sales, part of their rotation is they have to work in housekeeping, they have to work on the front desk, they have to be able to pour coffee in the restaurant. Our front desk people go upstairs and they work with housekeeping. Housekeeping will come downstairs and help answer the phones. Now, certain jobs, obviously, you can't have somebody going back and trying to, cook breakfast for everybody, but they can cut fruit. We want front of the house to understand back of the house, because if every staff member realizes that we're all working for the same goal, we're all on the same team, um, but how we get there within our jobs might look a little bit different. But they need to understand the end goal. So we always use this example for if housekeeping needs to understand that if the front desk calls up and says, "Hey, I need this room available," and the housekeeper says, "But the other people haven't checked out." The housekeeper needs to understand they're not doing it just to give them a hard time. It's because the mother of the bride is standing in front of them saying, "But I need to get into that room." Or the same thing could be said for the restaurant, where just because we want to make sure that the cooks understand that the waitress isn't coming back and saying, "Well, let's not put, I need to substitute this, and this," and they have some kind of an allergy. They're not being difficult. It's because the guest out front is making that request. And so we want them to understand that they need to have a good understanding of each other's jobs and what the ultimate, where the driving force is coming from. And the ultimate driving force in those scenarios is to offer unreasonable hospitality to guests. But they need to be reasonable in their expectations of each other as coworkers.
You made it really clear. It's very obvious to our audience listening, your leadership style, and that definitely comes across crystal clear. And you probably have hundreds of examples over your 31-year tenure of people that you recognize that, rose up in the organization. But anything recent stand out, a person that you just saw something special in, you gave them an additional responsibility, perhaps they rose to the challenge, they excelled at it, they got promoted. It's like, and they just keep going. They're like, they just keep getting better and better in different positions, and they're just become super versatile and valued at that point. Anyone stand out?
I have two people that really stand out in my mind.
Tell us those stories.
One,
I think they're relevant.
yeah. So one of them, her name is Colby Bracey. She has worked here most of her life. I've known her for a very, very long time. And she has done everything from the front desk to helping in the sales department. She has started in our HR department. She was doing payroll, etc. She's now moved into the head of our HR department.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
I think I've mentioned her name before, and she has this undying passion for helping people in the recovery community, helping people in the incarceration program,
Wow.
any type of mental health illness and whatnot. But she has the most incredible way of seeing people for who they are and meeting them at their place and helping them bring them to another level. You know, she's very involved in the community, and she's now the head of the DEI community for our committee for our chamber, and she's becoming a powerful voice in the hospitality industry for these programs. So keep your eyes and ears open for that one. So she's been really incredible to watch grow through, the last, I've known her for, 20 years, probably, if not longer, 25 years. So keep your eye out for her.
Beautiful
the other one
story.
is my
Tell us the other one. Oh, yeah, Angela.
The other one is Angela. Yeah, my assistant general manager. Oh, my goodness. So Angela has worked here for 9 years. She started out she actually got married here when she was 19 years old. She couldn't even drink at her wedding.
Wow, she's got some affinity for the property.
She does. Her sister works here as our dining room manager, and her mother works here as a receptionist.
There's that family again.
There is. But during, she's lovely. She is lovely as the day is long, and she worked her way up from the front desk attendant to front desk manager. And then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And I saw something in this young lady that was just the most beautiful thing of how loving and warm she was to not only all of our staff, but to our guests. And she exhibited all of the qualities that you would want to see in someone that would lead this property to the next place. And so in 2022, we promoted her to assistant general manager, because one day she will have my job. And she has all of the right stuff. It's amazing, Roger, watching these two young ladies grow into the future of this property. And, I just feel so fortunate that I was this much of a part of their lives and their growth process, wow. And giving, being a part of the opportunities that I see for them down the road here. Currently and down the road.
Those are two really great stories. And I kind of want to approach this two different ways, because obviously we've got an audience of owners and existing GMs and that sort of thing. But then we also have perhaps a dining room leader or a bar manager, someone who would aspire to do what you do, but isn't quite sure how to get there. Like what are the best qualities of a really solid leader, and what do they need to bring to the table to demonstrate that to their particular boss in order to rise up in an organization?
I think, we've said this, but I think having the passion for the business, there's people always say, if you love what you do, you'll never feel like you're going to work or whatever.
You'll never work a day in your life.
Your life. That's it. Yeah. And, some days, 99.9% of the days, that's how I feel. And I think bringing a passion for your industry forward shows in everything that you do. Because if you love something so much, you want to be able to nurture it and to take care of it and make sure that the things that touch that passion are a reflection of you. But, so what are some of the skills, right? Ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to be wrong, and don't be afraid to take risks. Always be humble and kind in how you approach people. But continually look for educational opportunities. And I don't mean that you have to go back and get your master's degree, but it can be something as simple as, attending a business after hours, or attending a class on, how to excel your Excel skills or your Microsoft skills. So look for educational opportunities that are appropriate for you. And maybe it is that you want to go back and get your master's, but it doesn't have to be such a great undertaking. So I just think that if you demonstrate ambition and you demonstrate a true vitality for the work that you're going to do, treat people the way you want to be treated, be respectful, be kind. There's some owners might be saying, but how do you make money? The money does come if you do the right thing. And I don't mean to sound so elementary or contrite in any way, shape, or form, but that is the way that it's worked here for us. I'm we're very, very fiscally responsible. And, we're very, it's important to me and to this property to look at all of our different goals and make sure that the different buying processes that we have meet those goals. I told you I was the youngest of 6.
Yeah.
I come from two of my brothers and a couple of my sisters are all very into environmental studies. And so sustainability has been a really big part of my life ever since I was a little kid. And so here at the hotel, we adopted a lot of green initiatives before that was even a thing.
Yeah.
We've been doing the whole green recycling, sustainability prior to those being buzzwords. And so
if you don't want your towels washed and your linens in your room, let us know and we'll save 10,000 gallons of water a day. And it all plays a part. Was that one of your initiatives based on your past history? Nice.
Yeah, 100. Yeah,
beautiful
100%.
Contribution.
Yeah, and we've taken it to a much higher level here with looking at every single department. How can we be better? How can we reduce our carbon footprint?
Mm-hmm.
We have a program right now where we have a pilot program going on with a local farm. So we are growing our own vegetables and there's just all these fun things we get to do, Roger.
Right,
but to the aspiring person that might be listening is pursue your passions and have them be reflective of your values. And yes, you have got to be, there are days when you have to sit down and you've got to look at the spreadsheets and you got to look at the profit and loss and you got to look at forecasting. That's part of the process too. But I just fully believe that if you, you make integrity-based decisions and you do the right thing, those numbers are going to follow. You attract good people to work with you and they're going to do the right things.
Excellent advice. Let's talk a little bit about your food venues. Now, you've got 2 restaurants on site.
Mm-hmm.
One is called Latitudes, and I understand it's got a roof deck, sort of a bar up there, and great views of the surrounding Kennebunkport and all that sort of thing. And the other is more of a fine dining, small plates and nice entrees. Is that right?
We actually have your understanding of that was correct at one point, but we we've pivoted.
Oh, no kidding. One's the other and the other's the tell us.
No, we realize that that's not exactly what people want anymore.
Okay.
And so there are lovely dining establishments here in Kennebunkport that offer those fine dining experiences. And we're very happy to help people get reservations there and work closely with those other properties. But when guests are here at the hotel, what they're going to receive at either one of our food outlets is an elevated menu. Chef Steve, who has worked with us now for 6 years, is just, I cannot even begin to give him the accolades that he deserves, because he has brought our food service to a whole nother level. And so when you're down at Latitudes, which is a new outlet we opened 2 years ago, it was born out of what we learned during COVID.
Right.
Outdoor menu. It has anything from burgers to nachos to a beautiful strip steak or a scallop seared lobster roll, etc. That's an amazing outlet. The food is phenomenal. The views are great. That's very casual. It's around our pool area. So, that in itself sort of lends itself to being a little
Definitely.
bit more casual. We have entertainment out there,
Oh, great.
but
Sounds like a
inside,
cruise ship,
it
right?
sort of
It's
is.
like I'm
It
out by
sort
the
of is.
pool and it's like, yep, I can get my drink, I can get service, I get a burger, and it's like live music. Sure.
But it's
Cool.
elevated food.
Uh,
Just the presentation is incredible. The quality is amazing. And then inside, Heckman's is our other outlet.
yes.
And so it's got a little bit of a rebranding this year. We're going to be reopening that on Memorial Day weekend. So it'll be opening up with more small plates. So you and I both go to Sunday River,
Yes.
and you've perhaps frequented the Mountain Room
I
up
get
on
that
up
menu.
on
Oh,
North
yeah.
Peak.
Sure.
So
Yes.
it's going to replicate. I'm not going to say replicate, but it will be reminiscent, I guess, of
Mhm.
what you would see there. So you're going to
I
see
see.
a lot of small plates, very carefully curated dishes. There won't be a kids menu. We typically that will be out at Latitudes.
Of course.
So it's going to be a more intimate, upscaled, but on a tapas level.
Okay. That
So
makes perfect
yeah,
sense.
yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. We're so excited about it. It's a whole new vision for us. That'll only be open four nights a week, and outside will be open 7 days a week.
So you may have mentioned, but you're not actually open yet. You're gearing up for an opening this month.
We actually opened up last weekend,
Oh, you did.
but
Okay. Yeah.
we open on a very small scale. So we open gradually and we close down gradually. So we'll open up in the middle of April. We opened up to a nice big group. We offer typically the first month we're open is more conferences. Our real big kickoff will be Mother's Day brunch, where we'll welcome about 400 to 500 people to the property, serve an amazing brunch, and then the next weekend Latitudes will open. The weekend after that is Memorial Day, and that's when activity starts opening up. So it's kind of like taking an onion and sort of peeling off the different levels until you get to the real good stuff, which is July and August.
And that's coming for sure.
It's coming for sure.
Well, you've given us a really great taste of the Nonantum itself, and your location is stellar. You mentioned your walking distance to the beach, your walking distance to Dock Square. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
there's the Bush Estate that attracts a lot of attention, right? And just the
Oh, yeah.
history of Kennebunkport in general, but it's the quintessential Maine coastal town and village, really. Kennebunkport is a
Mm-hmm.
village. And, walk us through Kennebunkport, like Dock Square. What do you see? I mean, it's got bars, it's got restaurants, it's got antique shops and galleries, and there's the view, right? There's the Atlantic Ocean, and the waves are crashing on the rocks. What's your favorite part of the town?
I think you just walked them through Kennebunkport.
I
That was
shouldn't have
pretty
done that. That was your
amazing.
job.
I'm only kidding.
I haven't been in a while, but that's what I
My
remember.
Well, you've
Yeah.
got to come down and visit. So Dock Square is that quintessential Maine village, as you said. It's got all the shops and the galleries and the restaurants. You'll hear music outside. It's people strolling through. You got bicycles. You've got the golf carts that are going around. Amazing. My favorite part of Kennebunkport, I guess the beach is incredible. But when you go out of the Nonantum and you take a right and you start going down Ocean Avenue, you're going along and you see the River Club, and then you go a little bit farther and St. Anne's, which is a beautiful old Episcopalian stone church,
Right,
is on
the
your
stone
right
church. I
hand
remember
side.
that. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, if anybody remembers when President Bush jumped out of an airplane on his 90th birthday,
I do remember that as well.
That's where he landed on the lawn right there.
With the Golden Knights.
Exactly.
Okay.
You continue along Ocean Avenue, and the homes are just incredible. We offer a history walking tour in the morning, which I get to take some of our guests on throughout the summer.
Fun.
The history in the homes along Ocean Avenue, on your left-hand side, with the backdrop of the ocean, as you said, with the waves crashing on the rocks. You go around and you come up this hill, and at the top, you look over to the beautiful ocean, and there's Walker's Point. You've got the windmill, you've got the big flag, and there's you see anchors to windward, which was the anchor that was dedicated to President Bush for his service in the Navy. And it is just absolutely stunning. And you have spouting rock, you got blowing caves. So when the water is just glistening and the tide's coming in, you can just see this water just erupting. It's something pure magic. There's pure magic about it. And then I come back here on the property, and we have all these Adirondack chairs looking at the river, watching the tide going in and the tide going out, and watching the boats go by. There's just something so mesmerizing about here. And after 31 years, I've never stopped appreciating it or being in awe of the beauty of Southern Maine.
Well,
Kennebunkport.
You're a tremendous ambassador for the property and the community and our board of directors and just hospitality in general. You've offered so much information and insights and knowledge and advice, and just I've so enjoyed talking to you, and I'm so glad you were part of the podcast.
Thanks, Roger. I feel so fortunate to have the career that I've had, and the years that I have left. And being here at the Nonantum is such a special thing to me, but to be a part of the hospitality community in Maine is so incredible. We have such amazing restaurants and inns and hotels and, you name it. And, being a part of, sure. And the community of Kennebunkport is a very special one. I'm very fortunate that I'm not only involved at the Hospitality Maine Board, but several boards here in our local community. And being able to help on the local level is really important to me. I think when you look in the mirror, you say, you get what you give and you give what you get. And I've been given a lot. And so I feel very fortunate that I have the ability to give back a lot too. So that's how I live my life here as a leader at the Nonantum. It's how I live my personal life with my family. I just feel very grateful to have the opportunities and to be a part of this hospitality community.
Well, I'm honored to know you, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Tina. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Roger.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Can't wait to see you in the next episode, so stay well.
Wow, Tina, what an inspiring episode. Thanks so much for everything you do for our industry, for our members, for restaurants, and for hospitality, as well as the Nonantum and the team you lead. Totally inspiring for all of us, so thanks for being a great guest. Thanks also to the sponsors of this week's episode and to you, our audience, for always tuning in. See you next time. I've always believed in systems to run a really effective restaurant. They say you have a system if you can walk away and leave your place for a day, a week, or a month, and it's just as successful, just as profitable when you return, if not more so. Now, the staff are really the foundation of this, and it all comes down to the word empowerment. If you've got really great people, and if you can develop those people to have your back, and to run it as if they owned it, treat everything as if they had to pay for it, that's a super powerful system. Once you have the staff in place, it really comes down to three things. It comes down to 1, staff training, development, recognition, and rewards to create what I call your dream team. How to empower your team to think and act like owners and to treat everything as if they owned it and had to pay for it. And to deliver amazing guest service experiences to your customers, to serve and sell, because sales are the lifeblood of your business. Not allowing order takers on the floor, but teaching everyone to recognize opportunities and make suggestions that we know the customers will enjoy and appreciate. It all comes down to training. Number 2, cost controls and maximizing profit. You need to know your critical financial numbers on a weekly basis, and it only takes 10 minutes, but you need to understand these things. How about your daily break even? How much it costs you to open the doors to your restaurant each day? Inventory is not just walking around and figuring out what your order is that week. It's knowing the true value of your goods on hand at any given point in time, and you need this information to be able to calculate your true food and beverage costs. Your labor costs are also important, and running a weekly labor analysis against sales. If you know these things, I can teach you how to maximize your profit and control your costs. And then number 3 is what I call marketing firepower and affinity. You know, affinity is defined as a really powerful sense of loyalty and belonging where your customers become raving fans and they're like an army of brand ambassadors spreading the word for your restaurant. Well, all of this is included in the Restaurant Rockstars Academy. If you really want to take your restaurant to the next level, post-pandemic, things are heating up, customers are coming back. Now's the time to really maximize your opportunities, maximize your sales and profits, and create that dream team staff. Check it out at restaurantrockstars.com. It's the Restaurant Rockstars Academy. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.